यूएस ईरान कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इज़न्ट इवन अबाउट नॉर्मल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एट दिस पॉइंट पे, क्योंकि यूएसए अभी ईरान पे सैंक्शंस लगवाने जा रहा है एंड उसका इफेक्ट इसके करेंसी पे देखने को मिलेगा एंड हाउ इट्स कंट्री इज एक्चुअली गोइंग टू हैव टू गो थ्रू एन इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस। इसी के चलते विच इज काइंड ऑफ इनसेन हाउ यूएस इज लाइक प्लेइंग देम in a very intelligent way.
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to 1 US dollar in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%. Imagine what means for an ordinary family. Every trip to the market costs more. Every saving loses value and the national currency continues to slide. In Tehran, people are reportedly lining up to buy US dollars, desperately trying to protect whatever savings they have left. One 73-year-old Iranian summed up the public mood bluntly. There is no hope for a deal and a peace. And now comes
एंड गिवन कि यूएसए बाकी सब कंट्री पे भी सैंक्शंस थ्रेटन कर रहा है जो ईरान के साथ डील करेगा। आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ दिस इज गोइंग टू अफेक्ट इंडिया इन द लॉन्ग टर्म, बट यूएई अपना ट्रेड डील्स बंद कर रहा है ईरान के साथ, विच इज़ अंडरस्टैंडेबल गिवन कि वो लोग यूएसए के साथ अच्छा रिलेशनशिप रखना चाहता है।
comes the next blow. The Trump administration is preparing another sanctions package, including possible secondary sanctions against countries that continue doing business with Iran. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has argued that the pressure campaign has pushed the Iranian economy into unprecedented distress. And there is another major development. The United Arab Emirates, traditionally one of Iran's biggest trading partners and a major source of imports, has announced the suspension of trade with Iran. Now that could further squeeze Tehran's access to critical goods and commercial networks. So is this Trump's endgame? Strangle the economy, increase isolation, and force Iran back to the negotiating table? Perhaps. But Iran has one weapon that cannot be measured simply by looking at the value of the rial. Before this conflict, roughly 1/5 of world's traded oil passed through this narrow but strategically critical waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. Now attacks and threats against ships have brought traffic to a near standstill, and that changes the equation completely, because Iran may be under economic pressure, but if the Strait of Hormuz remains disrupted, the consequences are not limited to Tehran. Oil markets are affected, global trade is affected, and economies around the world feel the shock. Iran is now reportedly refusing to fully reopen the waterway unless it is allowed to charge ships. And reports suggest Iran and Oman are discussing a management of the strait. So while Washington attempts to choke Iran economically, Tehran is signaling that it still has the ability to create economic pain far beyond its own borders. This is no longer just a sanctions war. The rial may be collapsing, inflation may be crushing Iranian households, sanctions may be tightening, but Iran is also signaling that economic warfare cuts both ways. Trump wants to increase pressure on Tehran. Tehran wants to demonstrate that if Iran pays the price, the world economy may pay one too. And that is why the collapse of Iran's currency is about much more than the rial. It is now at the heart of much bigger geopolitical showdown. Can Trump break Iran economically before Iran succeeds in making cost of this conflict unbearable for the rest of the world? That is the battle now unfolding. And the answer could determine not just Iran's future, but the future of one of the world's most critical oil routes, the Strait of Hormuz.
एंड लास्टली ये वीडियो में मेरे को जापान और इंडिया का रिलेशनशिप के बारे में भी पॉइंट आउट करना है क्योंकि रिसेंटली इंडिया और जापान का 20 ट्रिलियन येन पैक्ट किया गया है। सो लेट्स होप कि ये रिलेशन के साथ हम लोग का जापान के साथ भी रिलेशनशिप अच्छा हो जाए, विच इज़ गोइंग टू बी सो गुड।
From New Delhi to Tokyo, a high-stakes diplomatic and economic offensive is underway. Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has landed in Japan, heading India's largest ever business delegation. Comprising over 200 corporate leaders, Mission Japan is all about supercharging bilateral trade, unlocking multi-billion-dollar investments, and rewriting the future of global supply chains.
Ever since, it's been a fabulous journey that Suzuki and India have had together. So much so that today the market cap of Suzuki in India is almost 1.75 times the market cap of the parent Suzuki company, reflecting on the great element of trust that our two nations share.
Marking 75 years of diplomatic ties and the golden jubilee of the India-Japan Business Cooperation Committee, this 4-day blitz across Tokyo, Nagoya and Osaka is turning potential into action. With bilateral trade hovering around $27.5 billion, leaders agree that numbers barely scratch the surface of what these two economic powerhouses can achieve together. Backed by a monumental target of 10 trillion yen in Japanese investments over the decade, the focus is shifting to heavy-duty collaboration. At the heart of Mission Japan are the technologies of tomorrow. Dedicated strategic sessions are targeting semiconductors, artificial intelligence, clean energy, and next-generation mobility. But that's not all. Addressing concerns over global supply chain vulnerabilities, FICCI and industry leaders have spotlighted a bold new frontier, exploring joint mining investments in Africa to secure vital critical minerals.
We expect our semiconductor demand to now grow up to $150 billion by 2032. In design and engineering talent, India can offer significant support, as was mentioned by several of you. We are now rapidly expanding, particularly in the fabrication and packaging ecosystem. We have given significant government incentives. The Semicon 1 gave about $10 billion and has seeded investments of roughly $19 billion.
Anyways guys, that's about it for this video. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. आप लोग क्या सोचते हैं? And do leave a like and a subscribe if you want more of my content. That's about it. Peace out. Have fun.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं फिल्मोरा है ना।